Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My channel is about marriage to a woman from the Philippines, or any woman really. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today is marriage. And this is going to be why I tell young men to get married. Now, this should cause an uproar because I've found so many channels on YouTube, just on YouTube, where men are telling young men and other men, their peers, not to get married again. And so marriage is being discouraged. And I don't think it should be. Quite a different in my life. I got married in 2015 because of, I could say, a long battle of singleness, or a long battle with singleness. Not that singleness is a disease or something, but it's a style of life that I just didn't know how to do. Now, marriage has been, in a way, easier for me than being single because I have, some needs met that I got married for. And of course, there are difficulties in marriage that help lead to the breakdown of it. And then marriages don't last, and you have people making videos decrying the court system, which, makes sense. That's totally normal and expected. But then the thought that, all women are evil, they're Jezebels, they're wicked, you can't find a good woman anywhere. That's one thing people say. And of course, I'm a marriage advocate, so I believe that you can find good women somewhere. I went to another country back in 2015, the Philippines, and now we'll be celebrating in just a few months, 10 years of marriage. And I just cannot believe I'm saying it's been 10 years. I can't believe it. Those 30 years felt like a long time. I felt like I was almost 100. But these 10 years have just whisked by incredibly fast. And so another thing people tell me is, well, okay, yeah, you've been married for 2, 3, 4 years, but hey, just give it another couple years and she'll leave you. Just give enough time and she will find somebody else. Well, how long am I supposed to wait? Are we supposed to say, well, just wait, by 40 years, I'll bet you by 40 years, if she's still alive, she's going to divorce you, because that's what women do. Well, if it makes people feel better to say that, they can, but I just disagree with that. In fact, my viewpoint on, well, just give her time and then she'll leave you, is to make sure that doesn't happen. In other words, divorce-proof your marriage. I read a book one time called How to, Affair-proof your marriage, something like that. But you can say the same thing about divorce and trying to stay married. There are things, of course, you can do to make sure you stay married, and that's what I have in a lot of my 1900 videos on YouTube. Lots of playlists there, and I would encourage you to subscribe if you're serious about marriage. Doesn't mean you have to be one from the Philippines or not. But, people say, well, they're all bad. Well, that's not true. My wife isn't a bad woman. She's, I guess, a better prospect now than she was 10 years ago. I just wanted someone with, character and integrity, of course, that I was attracted to, and she's been all that. Another thing people say is when you get married, these women will just want to bleed you dry. So I'm going to tell young men, don't even get married. Don't even get married, because you'll lose all your money. Well, wow, if you put it that way, why would anybody get married? It's like saying, in a way, don't invest in the stock market because you're going to lose all your money. Well, you could. That's happened before when people make terrible investment choices. And who you pick to marry is, in a way, an investment choice. If you're getting married and you're vowing to be together till death do you part, then you want to invest in a safe investment, and an investment that can grow over time. And if you make a good choice from the outset, this can happen. So I would, instead of telling young men never to get married, and all men are evil, and it's just a matter of time before they dump you, I would say just the opposite. In fact, bleed you dry. Treat them right, and they won't want to bleed you dry. I don't believe all women are just, terrible man hunters, because the culture is kind of against men sometimes. I still think it's marriage is what you make of it. So I tell young people when I get the chance, young men, well, women too, I would say the same thing, to get married. Young men need to look for a good young woman. Young woman needs to look for a good young man. And so people telling young men not to get married is a serious thing. I think they just kind of flippantly say, well, don't get married. When I was growing up, a long time ago, when I was in the workforce, you might hear somebody say, hey, Bob, don't ever get married. Don't ever get married. Bad idea. But the thing was, they were kidding. They weren't serious. And it was understood that they weren't serious. Nowadays, I see these videos on YouTube and probably TikTok and anywhere else saying that young men should not marry. It's like they want the young men to pay for their own bad decisions and bad outcomes. Instead, I think it'd be better if they were trying to help the young men to have better outcomes than they did, learning from their mistakes, passing on some knowledge and wisdom that would actually be good for that young man. I think as soon as someone is marriage eligible, that would be a good time to get married. I'm not going to be able to explain everything here in this video. In fact, I'm not even going to get it done in this video, what I want to say, so I'll have to make another one. But telling young men not to marry, I'm very opposed to that. Somewhere in the New Testament, there's this verse about forbidding to marry. It's a bad thing. It comes right after mentioning, the doctrine of devils. And it says forbidding to marry. Yeah, Satan would like to keep people. The devil would like to keep people single and unmarried, not because there's something rotten about being single in and of itself, but because it is such a very difficult lifestyle that most men and women are not called to do. It's just too hard. And I'll mention that in the next video. I think they should encourage others to get married and stay married, letting them know it's going to be difficult. Nobody ever said marriage was easy. Anything worthwhile is going to be difficult. Instead, I would want to tell young men to be responsible, to get accountability before you get married, and even when you're married, from a mentor, somebody older that's been through the ropes, that is not going to talk you into getting a divorce just when things get tough. In fact, they're going to do just the opposite. They're going to remind you of your responsibility to your wife, your marriage vows, and that you cannot, as a leader, the man, head of the wife, you have to work on yourself. You got to do whatever it takes to keep that marriage going, because the Bible says God hates divorce. Now, he allows it under some circumstances, most often adultery. It doesn't have to be done. That couple can continue to work on their marriage, which is a great idea. But that is one way that God approves of getting divorced, if there is marital infidelity. Other than that, you got to teach them how to stick with it, how to be responsible, how to work, go to work, invest, save, get mentoring. Again, like I said, somebody you trust, somebody that's not going to tell you to never get married and all women are evil and stuff like that. So I'm going to see if I can finish this and get into the meat of it in the next video about why I tell young men to marry. Please leave a comment here. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea.